If you're struggling to get your pet portraits looking realistic, this video will be great for you. We'll be taking a look at how I created the beautiful shiny coat, a realistic nose, and all the character and expression in the dog's eyes. We're also going to talk through how to complete the nose. If you haven't seen already, the nose section of this portrait is available as a full real-time tutorial for free over on YouTube and Patreon. The link will be in the description, so you can start working on that one right away. The rest of this tutorial is available on Patreon, either through a monthly membership or as an individual purchase. So let's take a look at how the dog was completed. Generally, I start tutorials by completing the eyes first because they give the portrait personality and provide a great focal point to work from. But this time I decided to change things up and begin with the nose because I thought it would be a great free tutorial for people to try and to get a feel for how my tutorials work. The first thing you want to do is use a black pencil very lightly, or in this case I'm using a dark sepia pencil, to map out the darkest areas of the nose and create a solid outline. When it comes to realism, proportions are extremely important. If the scale, shape or placement is off, it can prevent the portrait from looking realistic. Next, use a white waxy pencil to add a wax resist to the brightest highlight areas. This helps keep those highlights clean and bright while also making sure we don't lose track of where they are. Although this nose is very dark, achieving a nice shiny finish requires building up the tones gradually with several light layers. I'm starting with a base layer of cold grey 1, then adding some light ultramarine in the areas where you can see the subtle blue tones. From there, I begin deepening the values with cold grey 5. Again, the key is to work with very light layers so all the tones can build up gradually and smoothly. Once those base layers are established, we can start darkening the nose further with black and dark sepia. Pay very close attention to your reference photo to identify where the darkest areas are, carefully working around the brightest highlights. You may also need to reintroduce some of the blue tones as you build up the layers. Finally, go back in with your white waxy pencil to add a few crisp highlight details. We work on the eyes in a very similar way to how we worked on the nose. Start by using a black pencil very lightly, or in this case a dark sepia pencil, to outline the darker sections. Once that's done, you can begin building up your base layers. I'm using cold grey 1 first, and because these eyes have a warm brown and orange tones, I'm also layering burnt ochre and burnt sienna to create that rich warmth. There's also a noticeable shine in the eyes, so I'm glazing some blue tones over the middle area to capture that reflective look. Remember to keep your layers very light so you can achieve smooth gradients and subtle color transitions. For the outer white edges of the eyes, I'm using beige red along with cold grey 1. Then I deepen the darkest areas using black and walnut brown to create those rich dark brown tones. As always, pay close attention to your reference photo and make sure you preserve the highlight areas so they stay bright and reflective. Then we can go through and complete the second eye, the same as we did with the first one. Remember, with realism, it's really important to have a good outline so that you have all of your proportions correct. If the eyes are in a wrong place or they're different sizes, it's going to look unrealistic. Making sure to have a good outline is essential for these pieces. I think when people look at portraits like this, they often assume the eyes and the nose will be the hardest part, but for me, they're actually much easier compared to drawing the fur. Fur can be really challenging because you need to pay close attention to the length, direction, and color variations on the coat. You also need to capture the light and dark areas correctly while enhancing the animal's bone structure so the portrait looks realistic and dimensional. When creating an area of fur like this, I always make sure to break it down into smaller sections. Working on one small patch of fur at a time really helps prevent you from feeling overwhelmed or frustrated. Because this is black fur, there are still a lot of lighter tones and color variations within it. So once again, we'll begin with our base layer of cold grey 1. Next, I move on to cold grey 5 and then start glazing in some subtle blue tones before gradually deepening the darkest areas with black. You can use some soft shading in the deepest shadow areas, but after that, it's important to begin adding fur strokes in the direction the fur naturally goes. Pay close attention to your reference photo to study both the direction and length of the fur, and make sure you're mimicking those movements with your pencil in each section. You can also go back over the lighter areas with your cold grey 1 pencil to softly blend and smooth transitions together. Use only medium pressure here, you don't want to press too hard. Then continue to build up the darker tones around those light grey highlight sections. The more layers you apply, the more color variation and depth you'll create, which helps the fur look thick, soft, and realistic rather than flat. Moving on to the fur around the mouth, there are a lot of little white hairs here that are hard to capture with colour pencil. So what I'm going to do is use the fine tip of my embossing tool to add a few small lines and create the texture. When you're putting these embossed lines down, you want to make sure that you're using a firm pressure, but not too hard that you're going to rip or go through the paper. And you also don't want to go too overboard with this either. Make sure to space them out so you can see the darker bits in between. You can overdo this, so it's just good to take your time. Then when you go over the area with your base layers and dark colours, you can see these embossed lines coming out. Hold your pencil gently on its side as you apply the colour. You'll see these white embossed lines showing up, which helps create that texture of white fur. If you haven't used this sort of thing before, it's best to have a little practice before you begin on your portrait. As we're putting the dark layers down, we're still working from light to dark, just being really gentle to go around some of these embossed lines, getting darker with the cold greys, the black and the dark sepia. And we can also put in some little white lines with a slice tool we can try later, or we could try to use a white waxy pencil. I'm starting to add some of the fur around the face because I want to make sure it matches up with the mouth before I work on the mouth itself. There are some small patches of brown and orange here, so make sure to include those while also paying attention to the direction of the fur. On the side of the face, the fur starts to fold downwards rather than moving to the left or the right. And remember, breaking the areas down into smaller sections will make the process much simpler and easier to complete. So when you're completing an open mouth on a piece like this, it can feel really intimidating. And you might look at it thinking, I don't know where to start. Again, the best thing to do is just to break it down into small sections and complete them one at a time. We're starting on the right hand side, working first on a small section of the gums and lips. The tongue can also be built up gradually in layers. Start with lighter pinks and soft reds, then deepen the darker sections around the edges and towards the back of the mouth. The tongue usually has a lot of soft texture and subtle colour changes, so using multiple layers will help it look more realistic. Keep comparing the darker shadows inside the mouth against the lighter areas of the tongue and teeth, as the contrast is what creates depth and makes the whole mouth feel three-dimensional. When you're drawing the mouth, it helps to think of each area as a collection of simple shapes rather than focusing on the whole thing at once. Complete each of those shapes one at a time, slowly building up the detail and contrast. For the teeth, avoid outlining every tooth too harshly. This can make them look unnatural. Instead, focus on the subtle shadows between the teeth and around the edges to define their shape. Most of the teeth should stay quite light, so it's really about layering soft tones and blending smoothly to create a realistic look. Pay close attention to where the highlights are, because those bright areas are what give the teeth their shine and dimension. Once the open mouth is complete, we can start working our way down into the fur on the chest. The long black fur can look a little overwhelming at first because it's tempting to see it as one solid dark area, but there are actually lots of different tones and subtle highlights within it. I like to begin by lightly mapping out the direction of the fur with my darker pencils, paying close attention to the way the hair flows and overlaps. Rather than pressing really hard straight away, build up the dark areas gradually in layers. Using a combination of dark greys, blue tones and blacks helps the fur look soft and realistic instead of flat. In the lighter sections of the black fur, leave small strands and highlights showing through, because those tiny details really help create texture and give the coat a natural shine. As we move down onto the white fur on the chest, the process is actually very similar, even though the fur is much lighter. White fur isn't truly white. Focus on the subtle greys, blues and soft shadows between the strands of hair. I like to lightly sketch in the main shapes first with the cold grey, so I can establish the depth and form of the chest before adding the brighter hairs on top. The key with both black and white fur is to work in the direction of the hair growth using small, controlled strokes. Breaking the fur down into little sections makes it much easier to manage and helps keep the texture looking realistic. Slowly layering those lighter and darker strands over one another is what creates that soft, fluffy effect and gives the dog's coat more dimension and movement. Once I got to the end of this piece, I realized that the paper wasn't blending quite as well as I would have liked. If you look really closely, you can see those tiny bits of white paper showing through the black fur texture. We don't want to go over these areas with really heavy layers of black pencil, because that would make the fur look flat and you'd lose all of that texture and detail we've already built up with the lighter layers. So instead, what I'm going to do is use my Zested liquid colour pencil blender with a brush to very lightly soften and blend these darker areas together. I'm only using this on the black fur around the outer edges to help smooth everything out a little more while still keeping the texture visible. I'm not going through the face or the mouth with the blender, because those areas need to keep all of their sharper detail and contrast. The blending step is really just to soften the larger, darker sections and give the fur more even, realistic finish without losing that individual hair stroke underneath. Then to create more depth, you can use your white waxy pencil to put in some flyaway hairs over the black. But I really hope that you liked this video and found something helpful to take away from it. Remember, the link to the full tutorial is in the description below if you'd like to follow along in more detail. The very start of this one, the nose, is a free tutorial on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.